You're not failing because of a lack of discipline. You're surrounded by too much noise. Learn how to cut through the chaos, reclaim your focus, and make unstoppable progress toward your goals. Cut out the noise. Audiobook. Introduction. In today's hyper-connected world, your most profound aspirations compete with an endless stream of distractions, urgent demands, and competing priorities. Each morning, you wake with clear intentions and determination, ready to make meaningful progress toward your goals. Yet as the day unfolds, that clarity dissolves into a fog of notifications, meetings, unexpected tasks, and the constant pull of others' expectations. This isn't just about external interruptions. The noise manifests internally too, in the doubts that whisper, "Not yet," in the perfectionism that insists not good enough, and in the endless mental chatter that drowns out your deeper wisdom. By day's end, you find yourself wondering where the time went and why. Despite your best efforts, your most meaningful goals remain frustratingly out of reach. The challenge isn't that you lack motivation, discipline, or the right productivity system. The real issue lies in the nature of noise itself, how it infiltrates your consciousness, fragments your attention, and creates interference patterns that make it impossible to maintain focus on what truly matters. Think of your mind as a sophisticated radio receiver, capable of tuning into countless frequencies simultaneously. When all stations play at once, you hear nothing but cacophony. The solution isn't to turn up the volume on your goals or add more techniques to your already overwhelming list of things to try. Instead, it's about developing the ability to filter out the static and tune into the clear signal of your authentic purpose. This book presents a transformative approach to achieving your aspirations, not through addition, but through subtraction. You'll discover that the noise drowning out your ambitions isn't random. It follows specific patterns, exploits predictable vulnerabilities in your attention, and creates interference in recognizable ways. By understanding these patterns, you can develop an internal filtering system that automatically separates signal from noise, clarity from confusion. The journey ahead isn't about fighting against distraction, a battle that only generates more mental static. It's about fundamentally shifting how you relate to noise, developing the discernment to recognize which inputs deserve your attention and which create nothing but interference. When you learn to cut out the noise, you don't need to force yourself toward your goals. The path forward becomes clear, and progress feels natural and effortless. The difference between constant struggle and consistent achievement isn't more information or harder work. It's the ability to hear the quiet signal of your deepest purpose beneath the clamor of a noisy world, and the clarity to follow where it leads. Chapter 1. The Noise Epidemic. Why You Can't Hear Your Own Voice. You're sitting in a bustling cafe, staring at your laptop screen, trying to make a crucial decision about your future. The espresso machine hisses. Fragments of 3 different conversations drift across your consciousness. Your phone buzzes with another notification. Music pulses from overhead speakers. Your mind splits between the task at hand, the environmental chaos, and the swirling thoughts about deadlines, commitments, and obligations waiting in the wings. This isn't just distraction. It's the new normal of modern consciousness. The cognitive landscape you navigate today bears little resemblance to what humans encountered even a generation ago. Your mind processes more information in a day than your ancestors did in months. Every moment brings a new demand for your attention, a fresh piece of information to process, another decision to make. The result isn't simply busyness, It's a fundamental transformation of how your brain engages with the world. Imagine your consciousness as a clear mountain lake. In its natural state, it reflects reality with pristine accuracy, allowing you to see straight to the bottom. But modern life continuously throws pebbles into this lake. Each notification, interruption, or competing demand creating ripples that distort the surface. The challenge isn't just the number of pebbles, but how their ripples interact, creating complex interference patterns that make it nearly impossible to see clearly in any direction. This isn't about lack of willpower or poor time management. When you set a goal only to watch your energy and focus fragment across countless small interruptions, you're not failing at discipline. You're experiencing the predictable outcome of trying to maintain clarity in an environment designed to disrupt it. The noise isn't random. It follows specific patterns, exploits particular vulnerabilities in your attention, and creates predictable forms of interference. Most productivity advice suggests adding more techniques, more systems, more tools to combat distraction. But attempting to implement these solutions without first understanding the nature of the noise affecting you is like trying to tune a radio while wearing earplugs. You must first develop noise awareness, the ability to recognize and categorize the different frequencies of interference that prevent you from hearing your own authentic voice and desires. External noise manifests in the obvious interruptions, notifications, demands, and environmental distractions. But internal noise can be even more disruptive. The doubts that question your decisions, the anxiety that generates endless what-if scenarios, the perfectionism that turns simple choices into paralyzing dilemmas. These mental patterns don't just add complexity, they fundamentally alter how you perceive opportunities and challenges. Understanding your personal noise landscape is essential before attempting any solution. What specific types of interference most often derail your focus? When do you feel most overwhelmed by mental static? What patterns emerge in the moments when clarity seems most elusive? This awareness isn't about judging or immediately trying to change these patterns. It's about mapping the terrain of your own experience. The path to cutting out noise begins with this fundamental recognition. Clarity isn't achieved by pushing harder against distraction, but by developing the discernment to recognize which inputs deserve your attention and which create nothing but static. As you begin to map your personal noise landscape, you'll discover that the very act of becoming aware of these patterns already begins to shift how they affect you. Notice how certain types of noise impact different areas of your life. Perhaps social media creates more interference with personal goals while email fragments your professional focus. Maybe internal dialogue drowns out your intuition in relationships while environmental distractions most affect your creative work. These patterns are unique to you, and understanding them is the first step toward developing effective filters. Each source of noise leaves its own distinctive signature on your attention, like different radio frequencies competing for the same mental bandwidth. The constant ping of notifications might scatter your morning routine, while the steady hum of workplace chatter erodes your afternoon focus. Your internal critic might grow loudest when you're pursuing ambitious goals, while fear of judgment creates static during meaningful conversations. By mapping these interference patterns across different domains of your life, you'll start recognizing the specific ways noise manifests for you, making it easier to anticipate and address before it derails your intentions. Chapter 2. The Three Dimensions of Noise: External, Internal, and Invisible. What if the greatest barrier between you and your goals isn't what you're failing to do, but what you're failing to filter? Close examination of goal achievement patterns reveals that success often hinges not on adding more activities or strategies, but on removing the interference that prevents clear reception of your essential purpose. Consider your mind's relationship with noise through three distinct but interconnected dimensions. External noise manifests in your immediate environment, the countless notifications demanding attention, the visual chaos of a cluttered workspace, the endless stream of information competing for processing power. This tangible layer of distraction fragments your focus into ever smaller pieces, leaving you jumping between tasks without the sustained attention required for meaningful progress. Yet external noise represents only the surface layer. Beneath it churns internal noise, the mental static generated by your own cognitive processes. This includes the endless loop of replaying past events, worrying about future scenarios, and maintaining the running commentary of self-doubt that accompanies most of your actions. Internal noise drains your mental energy not through interruption, but through constant background processing, like applications running in the background of your computer that slowly consume its resources. Most insidious is invisible noise, the unconscious programming and societal expectations that shape your thinking without your awareness. These are the should thoughts that feel like your own voice, but actually echo internalized messages from parents, culture, and social conditioning. Invisible noise doesn't just distract. It subtly misaligns your entire trajectory by having you pursue goals that don't truly resonate with your authentic values. Your mind responds to these noise dimensions like a series of tuning forks, each calibrated to vibrate in response to specific frequencies. Through repetition and conditioning, you become hypersensitive to certain types of noise while developing blind spots to others. This explains why some distractions hook you instantly while others barely register. Your internal tuning system has been shaped by experience to amplify particular frequencies. This personalized noise sensitivity profile is why generic productivity advice so often fails to create lasting change. You're attempting to implement external systems without understanding your unique interference patterns. It's like trying to tune a radio without knowing which frequencies are causing the static. The challenge intensifies because some forms of noise masquerade as productivity. Responding to every email provides an immediate sense of accomplishment. Staying constantly available to colleagues feels like dedication. Consuming endless information seems like preparation for future success. These activities create the illusion of progress while actually diffusing your focus away from what matters most. Understanding these three noise dimensions, external, internal, and invisible, provides the foundation for developing your personal filtering system. By recognizing how each dimension manifests in your specific situation, you can begin to distinguish between essential signals and distracting static. This awareness becomes your first line of defense against the constant bombardment of stimuli competing for your attention. External noise fragments your focus through immediate demands and interruptions. Internal noise drains your energy through mental churning and self-doubt. Invisible noise misaligns your direction through unconscious programming. Together, they create a unique interference pattern that keeps you spinning in place, while your true goals remain frustratingly out of reach. The key to breaking free lies not in pushing harder against this noise, but in developing the discernment to filter it effectively. By understanding your personal noise profile, identifying which frequencies consistently interfere with your clarity and progress, you can begin to create space for your authentic voice to emerge. This isn't about achieving perfect silence, but about learning to distinguish between the static that undermines your purpose and the signals that guide you toward it. Your personalized noise profile becomes a map of the specific frequencies you'll need to filter to maintain clear reception of your essential purpose. It reveals the particular patterns of interference that have kept you stuck, providing the foundation for developing targeted filtering strategies in the chapters ahead. Like a fingerprint, this profile is uniquely yours, shaped by your experiences, relationships, and the specific ways you've learned to process the world around you. Some frequencies might manifest as constant background chatter of self-doubt, while others surge as periodic bursts of external pressure or expectations. By mapping these patterns, you'll begin to recognize how certain types of noise predictably derail your focus and drain your energy, allowing you to anticipate and neutralize their impact before they pull you off course. Chapter 3. The cost of constant static. What noise takes from you. Standing before two doors, you face a choice that shapes not just your next moment, but the entire trajectory of your life. Through one door lies the path you know well, a cascade of notifications, endless task switching, and the constant hum of competing priorities that leaves you exhausted, yet feeling accomplished little. Through the other awaits a different possibility, a state of pristine mental clarity where your attention flows naturally toward what truly matters, where deep work happens effortlessly, and where you maintain unwavering connection to your essential purpose. If presented with this explicit choice, you would undoubtedly choose the path of clarity. Yet in reality, this choice presents itself not once, but thousands of times each day, through small decisions that seem insignificant in isolation. Each time you reach for your phone during a moment of uncertainty, each time you allow an interruption to fragment your focus, each time you say yes to a non-essential commitment, you're unconsciously choosing the path of noise over clarity. The true cost of these choices extends far beyond obvious metrics like time lost or deadlines missed. When your attention constantly shifts between tasks, it creates what neuroscience terms attention residue, a cognitive afterimage that continues consuming mental resources long after you've moved on to something else. This explains why even brief interruptions create disproportionate damage to your effectiveness. Your brain doesn't simply switch between tasks, it carries forward a mental burden from each transition. Think of your attention like a flashlight beam. Each time you redirect it, the light grows slightly dimmer, not because its power source is depleted, but because residual energy remains focused on previous targets. By day's end, you're attempting to illuminate your most important work with severely diminished capacity, wondering why everything feels so much harder than it should. This accumulated cognitive debt manifests in diminished creativity, impaired decision quality, and perhaps most costly, a gradual disconnection from your own sense of purpose and priority. In a noise-saturated state, even simple choices become exhausting, as your mental resources operate in constant overdraft. This creates a dangerous downward spiral where each depletion of willpower makes you more susceptible to further distraction. The qualitative difference between time spent in high noise versus low noise states cannot be overstated. An hour of genuinely focused attention often yields more meaningful progress than an entire day of fragmented effort. This isn't just about the quantity of output. It's about depth of insight, quality of creative solutions, and the personal satisfaction that comes from full engagement with meaningful work. Traditional productivity advice fails to address this fundamental dynamic. Adding more tasks, tools, or techniques to an overloaded system only generates more noise. It attempts to solve a reception problem with transmission solutions, like trying to hear a quiet voice more clearly by having everyone else speak louder. The path forward requires understanding that what's at stake isn't just productivity, it's your entire experience of life and work. In a low-noise state, you don't just accomplish more. You reconnect with the natural flow of creativity and purpose that noise habitually drowns out. Your most important work no longer feels like a constant battle against distraction, but emerges naturally from a place of clarity and conviction. When you contrast your current approach to important work versus how you would engage with it in a truly low-noise state, the difference becomes stark. Instead of constantly fighting to maintain focus, your attention naturally gravitates toward what matters. Instead of ending each day mentally exhausted yet feeling unproductive, you experience the deep satisfaction of meaningful progress. Instead of constantly questioning your choices and direction, you maintain an unwavering connection to your authentic purpose. Your work transforms from a series of fragmented tasks into a coherent expression of your deepest values. Time expands rather than constricts. Each hour holds more possibility because you're fully present rather than caught in the undertow of distraction. Even challenging work takes on a different quality, flowing from a place of centered clarity rather than scattered urgency. This isn't about working harder or longer, but about accessing a state where your natural capabilities emerge unimpeded by the static of doubt and divided attention. Chapter 4. The Signal Within. Rediscovering Your True Frequency. If all external influences and opinions suddenly disappeared, leaving only your deepest wisdom to guide you, what would you pursue? What would you release? And what would fundamentally change about your direction? This question cuts through layers of accumulated noise to reveal a profound truth. Many of the goals you currently chase may not originate from your authentic desires, but from an intricate web of expectations, conditioning, and societal pressures. Your mind operates like a sophisticated radio receiver, capable of tuning into countless frequencies. Yet among these frequencies, only one represents your true signal, the authentic voice of your essential purpose and deepest values. This signal exists as a constant broadcast, but its clarity becomes compromised by various forms of interference. The shoulds inherited from family expectations, the artificial urgency of social media metrics, the unconscious adoption of others' definitions of success. Understanding signal versus noise in your goal-setting process requires developing a refined sensitivity to how different pursuits affect your energy and internal state. When you're aligned with your true frequency, effort feels different. Challenging perhaps, but fundamentally energizing rather than depleting. This alignment manifests as a subtle yet unmistakable sense of rightness, a feeling that transcends logical analysis. However, this natural wisdom often gets overwhelmed by what appears rational or socially validated. You might pursue a career path that looks impressive on paper while feeling a persistent inner resistance that manifests as procrastination or lack of motivation. This resistance isn't necessarily fear of growth. It's your internal guidance system attempting to redirect you toward authentic alignment. The distinction between growth-related resistance and misalignment-based resistance proves crucial. When stretching beyond your comfort zone in pursuit of an authentic goal, resistance typically feels like nervous excitement, uncomfortable but mixed with anticipation. In contrast, resistance to misaligned goals manifests as persistent dread or emotional flatness, a subtle but constant energy drain that no amount of external validation can fully remedy. This explains why achieving socially celebrated goals sometimes leaves you feeling strangely empty. Without clear reception of your true frequency, you may find yourself in a pattern of continuous achievement without fulfillment, reaching objectives that generate external approval while failing to resonate with your essential nature. Your body holds profound wisdom about what truly aligns with your authentic path. Beyond mental analysis, your physical and emotional responses provide clear signals about which directions will sustain your motivation and which will eventually trigger self-sabotage. Learning to recognize and trust these signals requires developing what we might call signal recognition, the ability to distinguish between the clear broadcast of your authentic purpose and the static of internalized expectations. Consider moments in your life when you experienced unmistakable clarity, times when you knew exactly what to do, not through external guidance but through an unshakable internal recognition. These moments reveal what clear reception feels like, providing a reference point for evaluating future choices and directions. The signal strength exercise emerges from this understanding. When considering any goal or direction, assess not just its logical merit but its resonance with your essential values and purpose. This evaluation transcends pros and cons lists to measure how strongly a potential path aligns with your true frequency. Strong signal strength manifests as increased energy, natural motivation, and a sense of expansion rather than contraction. This deeper awareness of your authentic signal creates a foundation for filtering out the noise that previously clouded your direction. Rather than forcing yourself down paths that drain your vital energy, you can learn to recognize and trust the frequencies that naturally energize and align with your core self. This alignment doesn't guarantee ease, but it ensures that your efforts flow in harmony with your essential nature rather than against it. The paths that light you up from within become unmistakable, while those that dim your spirit grow increasingly obvious in their misalignment. You begin moving through life with an internal compass that doesn't just point north. It reveals the terrain ahead, showing which routes will nourish your soul and which will deplete it. Even when facing obstacles, you'll find yourself drawing from an inexhaustible well of motivation that comes from knowing you're on your true path. Chapter 5. The Noise Addiction. Why we seek what sabotages us. Turn up the volume, scroll faster, check one more notification. These instinctive reactions to mental noise reveal a peculiar contradiction in human behavior. When faced with unclear reception, rather than reducing interference, you often amplify the very distractions that prevent clear thinking. This paradoxical response hints at a deeper truth. Noise isn't just something that happens to you. It's something you actively seek out, even while complaining about its effects. The relationship between your mind and distraction has evolved far beyond simple interference. Through constant exposure to interruption, your neural pathways have been gradually rewired to expect, and even crave, the stimulation of shifting attention. Each notification check, each quick glance at email, each social media refresh triggers a small dopamine release, creating a biological feedback loop that makes sustained focus increasingly difficult. But the most insidious form of noise masquerades as productivity. You tell yourself you're being responsible by clearing your inbox before starting important work, doing just a bit more research before writing, or organizing your task list instead of tackling its most challenging items. These activities feel virtuous but often serve as sophisticated forms of avoidance, keeping you safely distant from the discomfort of deep focus and meaningful progress. This attraction to noise serves a psychological purpose beyond mere habit. Constant activity provides an effective buffer against deeper awareness. Awareness of whether your actions align with your values, whether you're moving toward what truly matters, or whether you're spending your limited time in ways you'll ultimately find meaningful. The buzz of perpetual busyness drowns out these more challenging questions. When you remove external noise, an interesting phenomenon emerges. Internal noise often intensifies. Without the distraction of incoming messages or endless tasks, you're forced to confront the uncertainty inherent in creative work, the anxiety of potential failure, or the realization that you've been pursuing goals that don't truly resonate with your authentic desires. Understanding this dynamic transforms how you view the urge for distraction. Rather than treating it as weakness or lack of discipline, you can recognize it as valuable data, a signal highlighting what you're unconsciously avoiding. When you feel compelled to check your phone instead of working on an important project, the real question isn't, "Why can't I focus?" but, "What am I trying not to feel right now?" This insight reveals why traditional productivity advice often fails. Trying to force focus through willpower alone ignores the protective function that distraction serves. Until you develop the emotional capacity to sit with uncertainty, creative tension, and the discomfort of potential failure, you'll continue finding sophisticated ways to avoid deep engagement with meaningful work. The path forward involves developing what might be called conscious discomfort, the ability to stay present with the uneasiness that arises when noise is removed. This discomfort isn't something to eliminate, but rather a gateway to deeper insight and authentic progress. Like a muscle that strengthens through resistance, your capacity for meaningful focus grows through deliberately maintaining presence with this discomfort, rather than reflexively seeking relief through distraction. By recognizing your complex relationship with noise, how it protects you from certain forms of psychological discomfort while creating other forms of suffering, you can begin approaching distraction not as an enemy to battle, but as a messenger, highlighting opportunities for growth. Each moment of wanting to escape into noise becomes an invitation to explore what that impulse is trying to tell you about your relationship with uncertainty, creativity, and authentic purpose. The noise that fills your days isn't just external static. It's a sophisticated coping mechanism that requires understanding rather than judgment. Only by acknowledging its protective function while recognizing its ultimate cost can you begin developing a healthier relationship with both focus and distraction. This noise represents your mind's intricate defense system, carefully constructed over years to shield you from discomfort, uncertainty, and the weight of unfulfilled potential. When you feel the magnetic pull of distraction, you're witnessing this protective impulse in action, a well-intentioned but ultimately limiting response to the challenges of deep engagement and meaningful work. By approaching this pattern with curiosity instead of criticism, you open yourself to profound insights about your own patterns of avoidance and resistance. Chapter 6. The Identity Noise. Voices that aren't your own. Imagine being controlled by invisible strings that direct your every movement while maintaining the illusion of free choice. These unseen forces, internalized voices, adopted identities, and societal expectations, shape your decisions and reactions without your conscious awareness, creating what feels like authentic self-expression while actually distancing you from your genuine nature. Your mental landscape hasn't developed in isolation. Years of childhood experiences, educational systems, cultural immersion, and significant relationships have installed specific programs that now run continuously in the background of your consciousness. These programs filter information, trigger automatic responses, and generate mental static that drowns out your authentic voice. When you listen closely, you can detect the subtle feeling tone of these internalized voices as they arise throughout your day. The internal critic finds fault with your efforts before you've even begun. The pleaser automatically prioritizes others' approval over your own values. The perfectionist generates endless reasons to delay action until conditions are ideal. Each voice feels intimately familiar. After all, you've been living with them for years. Yet they represent adopted perspectives rather than your essential truth. These internalized sub-personalities create significant cognitive interference, pulling you in multiple directions simultaneously. You might feel genuine excitement about a goal while experiencing inexplicable resistance to taking action. This internal conflict isn't a sign of personal weakness or lack of commitment. It's the natural result of competing programs running simultaneously in your mental operating system. Identity noise represents a particularly challenging form of interference. When your aspirations conflict with who you believe yourself to be, the resulting cognitive dissonance manifests as doubt, fear, or procrastination. You might deeply desire to express yourself creatively while carrying an internalized identity as a practical person. The discomfort this contradiction generates isn't about the goal itself, but about the threat it poses to your established self-image. The challenge lies in distinguishing between thoughts that originate from your essential self versus those that come from internalized conditioning. After years of mental programming, authentic desires and borrowed beliefs become deeply intertwined. Separating them requires developing a new kind of inner listening, one that recognizes the qualitative difference between genuine wisdom and programmed responses. When you create mental space between your awareness and these installed thought patterns, something remarkable happens. Instead of automatically following their direction, you gain the ability to choose which voices serve your authentic development. This separation doesn't require fighting against or silencing these voices. It simply means recognizing them as acquired programs, rather than essential truths. The practice of origin questioning provides a practical tool for this discernment. When a thought arises, particularly one that generates resistance to your aspirations, trace it back to its source. Does this perspective truly represent your values and desires, or does it echo the voice of a parent, teacher, or society's expectations? This tracing process gradually reveals the difference between authentic guidance and internalized static. Recognizing these internalized voices as separate from your essential self creates the foundation for filtering out identity-based noise. Rather than trying to force yourself to overcome resistant thoughts, you can begin to question their validity and choose whether to follow their guidance. This discernment becomes increasingly refined through practice, allowing you to maintain clearer reception of your authentic desires and wisdom. As you strengthen this inner filtering system, you'll notice how much lighter decision-making becomes, no longer weighed down by the accumulated expectations and judgments you've absorbed over the years. What once felt like immovable barriers reveal themselves as mere suggestions, leaving you free to tune into the frequency of your genuine aspirations. The voices don't disappear, but their power to derail you diminishes as you recognize them for what they are: background static rather than commanding broadcasts. Chapter 7. The Art of Reception. Creating your personal filtering system. Your mind operates like a sophisticated mixing board, capable of adjusting various frequencies to achieve perfect clarity. Just as a skilled sound engineer methodically eliminates interference while amplifying essential signals, you too can develop a personalized system that automatically separates what matters from what doesn't. without relying on constant willpower or conscious effort. The path to mental clarity isn't through perpetual vigilance against distractions. Instead, it emerges through creating an integrated filtering system that handles much of the work before willpower becomes necessary. This system consists of four essential components that work in harmony to maintain your focus on what truly matters. Environmental design forms the foundation of effective filtering. This isn't merely about maintaining a clean desk or turning off notifications, though these elements matter. It's about fundamentally restructuring your physical and digital spaces to naturally minimize distractions while amplifying signals that align with your priorities. Your environment should make it easier to focus than to become distracted. Attention protocols establish predefined patterns for directing and protecting your focus. These aren't rigid rules, but rather well-designed defaults that eliminate the need for constant decision-making about where to direct your attention. When you know in advance how you'll handle different types of interruptions or requests, you preserve mental energy for what matters most. Decision criteria provide clear parameters for what deserves your time and energy. These aren't just guidelines, but specific thresholds that help you automatically screen out noise before it has a chance to fragment your attention. By establishing concrete standards for what constitutes signal versus noise in your life, you reduce the cognitive burden of constantly evaluating incoming demands. Energy management aligns tasks with your natural cognitive rhythms. This means scheduling deep work during your peak mental hours and handling lower priority items when your energy naturally dips. By working with rather than against your body's natural cycles, you maximize your capacity for sustained focus while minimizing the effort required to maintain it. The distinction between reactive and proactive filtering proves crucial for sustainable results. Reactive filtering, constantly responding to distractions as they arise, depletes willpower and creates a perpetual state of defense against interruptions. Proactive filtering, while requiring more initial effort to establish, prevents many distractions from appearing in the first place. This fundamental shift from constantly fighting noise to systematically preventing it transforms how easily you maintain focus over time. A common misconception suggests that effective filtering requires eliminating all potential distractions. This misunderstanding often leads to unsustainable attempts at perfect concentration. Instead, focus on optimizing your signal-to-noise ratio, ensuring that your essential frequency remains significantly stronger than background noise. This more realistic approach acknowledges that some noise will always exist, while ensuring it doesn't overpower what matters most. Creating effective filtering systems often requires renegotiating boundaries with others who expect constant access to your attention. This process isn't about building walls, but about establishing clear channels for meaningful connection while eliminating unnecessary interference. By clearly communicating your new parameters for engagement, you help others understand how to interact with you in ways that respect both their needs and your focus. The most sophisticated filtering system operates largely beneath conscious awareness, automatically directing attention toward priorities while screening out distractions. Think of it as having a personal control room in your mind, where well-calibrated equipment maintains optimal signal clarity without requiring constant adjustment. This automation frees tremendous mental energy previously consumed by moment-to-moment decisions about where to direct your focus. The ultimate goal isn't to achieve perfect silence, but to create such clear reception of your essential frequency that background noise becomes irrelevant. Like a well-tuned radio that locks onto its designated station, your mind can learn to naturally gravitate toward what matters most while letting everything else fade into the background. Just as a skilled musician learns to distinguish subtle variations in tone and timbre, you'll develop an instinctive sense for the quality of different mental signals. Your internal filtering system becomes increasingly refined, automatically recognizing and prioritizing inputs that align with your deeper purpose, while smoothly deflecting those that don't. This natural attunement creates a profound shift in how you move through your days. You'll find yourself responding to life's challenges with a new level of clarity and precision, much like a master conductor who can pick out a single instrument's voice within a full orchestra. The chaos that once felt overwhelming transforms into a manageable flow of clearly differentiated signals. As your internal receiver becomes more finely calibrated, you'll discover an effortless efficiency that makes previous struggles with focus seem unnecessarily complex. The energy you once spent constantly adjusting and readjusting your attention now flows naturally toward what truly matters, creating momentum that carries you toward your most meaningful goals. Chapter 8. The Environmental Filter, Creating Spaces that Amplify Your Signal. Your physical and digital environments are broadcasting a constant message about what deserves your attention. Every object, notification, and design element speaks, creating a subliminal soundtrack that shapes your focus and mental clarity. The question isn't whether your environment affects your ability to maintain clear reception. It's how profoundly these surroundings are either amplifying or distorting the signal of your essential priorities. Consider how your brain must continuously process every element within your field of awareness. Each notification icon, unfinished task, scattered paper, or visual reminder creates cognitive load, even when you're not consciously engaging with these items. Your mind, designed to scan for potential threats and opportunities, cannot simply ignore these environmental inputs. It must dedicate precious metal resources to processing them. This constant background processing explains why the same task that flows effortlessly in one setting becomes frustratingly difficult in another. When your environment broadcasts mixed messages about what deserves attention, your brain must work harder to maintain focus on your chosen priorities. Each competing signal creates interference that weakens your reception of what truly matters. Environmental congruence, the degree to which your surroundings naturally direct attention toward your priorities, plays a crucial role in maintaining clear reception. Spaces that achieve high congruence make focus feel effortless because the environment itself acts as a filter, automatically screening out distracting inputs while amplifying signals that align with your intentions. Most modern environments, particularly digital spaces, are engineered specifically for consumption rather than creation. Social media platforms, news sites, and even productivity tools often incorporate design elements that fragment attention and encourage passive scrolling over focused engagement. These spaces create a form of environmental friction that subtly resists deep work and sustained concentration. The challenge lies not in completely controlling your environment. Perfect conditions are rarely possible, but in optimizing whatever spaces you can influence. Even shared offices, public workspaces, or temporary settings can be strategically modified to reduce noise and enhance signal clarity. Small adjustments in layout, visual organization, and digital architecture can significantly impact your ability to maintain clear reception. Your surroundings can be designed to include activation triggers, environmental cues that automatically initiate focused states. These triggers might be as simple as a cleared workspace, a specific lighting configuration, or a digital dashboard that displays only essential information. When consistently associated with concentrated work, These environmental elements begin to automatically shift your mental gears toward heightened clarity. Understanding the distinction between signal-enhancing and noise-generating elements in your environment allows you to make intentional choices about what deserves space in your field of awareness. Each object, application, or design element either contributes to clarity or creates interference. By consciously curating these elements, you establish an environmental filter that works continuously in the background, supporting clear reception without requiring constant conscious effort. The most effective environmental filters operate at multiple scales, from the broader architecture of your space to the minute details of your digital interfaces. Each level provides opportunities to reduce cognitive load and strengthen signal clarity. Clean sight lines, organized information systems, and thoughtfully arranged tools create a visual and functional hierarchy that naturally guides attention toward what matters most. This multidimensional approach to environmental design recognizes that different activities require different types of spatial support. Deep creative work might benefit from minimal, distraction-free environments, while collaborative projects might need spaces that facilitate easy information sharing while still maintaining focus on core objectives. The key lies in consciously designing each environment to match its intended purpose, rather than allowing spaces to evolve haphazardly. Your environment's influence extends beyond immediate task focus to shape your broader relationship with noise and clarity. Spaces that consistently support clear reception help train your attention system to naturally resist distraction, while chaotic environments can gradually erode your capacity for sustained concentration. This environmental conditioning creates lasting patterns in how effectively you filter noise across all contexts. Each space you inhabit becomes a training ground for your attention, invisibly molding your ability to maintain focus in the face of distraction. When you repeatedly work in environments that honor clarity, your mind learns to expect and maintain that same crystalline quality of thought. But the opposite holds equally true. Constantly operating in cluttered, noisy spaces teaches your brain to accept and even normalize that scattered state, making it increasingly difficult to achieve depth even when you desperately need it. Chapter 9. The Temporal Filter. Synchronizing with your natural rhythms. Your mental clarity and focus operate much like a radio's reception. Some moments offer crystal clear transmission, while others crackle with interference. Just as a radio signal comes through differently during an electrical storm versus calm weather, your brain's ability to tune into different frequencies of thought varies dramatically throughout each day. This variation isn't random or unpredictable. It follows specific biological patterns that, once understood, can be leveraged to dramatically reduce mental noise and enhance clear reception. Your brain operates on internal rhythms that influence everything from analytical capability to creative insight, from focused concentration to intuitive processing. These cognitive patterns fall into distinct chronotypes, each with its own signature of peak performance times and natural rest periods. Some minds naturally tune into clear frequencies earliest in the day, achieving their sharpest analytical thinking in the morning hours, before gradually shifting toward more diffuse, creative processing as the day progresses. Others experience their clearest reception in the afternoon or evening, finding that attempting deep focus during early hours creates unnecessary static. Understanding your personal chronotype reveals why certain work that feels impossibly difficult during some hours flows effortlessly during others. This isn't about forcing yourself to become a morning person or night owl. It's about recognizing your innate patterns and aligning your most important work with your periods of naturally enhanced reception. The principle of cognitive matching takes this understanding further, acknowledging that different types of thinking require different mental states. Hard focus activities, like detailed analysis, complex problem solving, or precise technical work, demand a particular quality of mental clarity that your brain can only sustain for limited periods. Soft focus activities, such as creative ideation, pattern recognition, or intuitive processing, actually benefit from slightly reduced cognitive control, allowing your mind to make broader connections and explore novel possibilities. Attempting to force the wrong type of thinking at the wrong time creates significant internal noise. Your brain naturally resists these mismatched efforts, generating extra static in the form of distraction, fatigue, and diminished comprehension. This explains why staring at complex spreadsheets during your natural creative periods feels like trying to tune a radio through heavy interference. You're working against your brain's natural frequency patterns rather than with them. Your cognitive energy moves in ultradian rhythms, roughly 90-minute cycles of peak focus followed by necessary recovery periods. These cycles represent your brain's natural pattern of engagement and renewal, much like waves of clear reception followed by periods of recalibration. Pushing beyond these natural limits doesn't extend your productivity. It increases mental noise and reduces signal clarity. The modern workday often ignores these biological rhythms, expecting consistent performance across arbitrary time blocks. This time-based approach to scheduling creates unnecessary interference, forcing your brain to process complex information when it's naturally tuned to different frequencies. An energy-based approach, by contrast, aligns tasks with your natural periods of enhanced reception for those specific types of thinking. This alignment doesn't require complete freedom over your schedule. Even within typical workday constraints, you can make strategic choices about when to tackle different types of tasks. Understanding your personal patterns of peak reception allows you to protect your highest clarity windows for your most important work, while scheduling lower priority or different mode activities during periods when your brain naturally shifts to other frequencies. Tracking your mental clarity throughout the day reveals your unique chronotype signature, the specific pattern of when different types of thinking come most naturally to you. This personal chronotype map becomes a powerful filtering tool, automatically reducing cognitive noise by aligning your work with your brain's natural rhythms rather than fighting against them. The relationship between temporal patterns and mental clarity extends beyond basic productivity. Your ability to access different modes of thinking, analytical versus creative, focused versus diffuse, varies throughout the day according to subtle shifts in brain chemistry and neural activation. Working with these shifts rather than against them not only reduces mental noise, but also enhances your access to different qualities of thought when you need them most. This natural rhythm shapes your cognitive landscape in ways both subtle and profound, influencing everything from your problem-solving abilities to your emotional resilience. By tuning into these internal cycles, you transform what might seem like limitations into powerful allies. Those moments when your analytical mind naturally sharpens become opportunities for deep strategic work, while periods of heightened creativity open doorways to innovation and insight. Your brain isn't simply on or off. It moves through a rich spectrum of capabilities, each offering unique advantages when properly understood and leveraged. Chapter 10. The Social Filter. Relationships that clarify or confuse. In your journey toward greater clarity and purpose, perhaps no factor influences your ability to maintain clear reception more powerfully than the relationships that surround you. Every significant connection in your life acts as a filtering system, fundamentally shaping what information and opportunities capture your attention, what possibilities feel accessible, and how clearly you can hear your own essential wisdom beneath the noise of daily life. Think of relationships as lenses through which you perceive reality. Some relationships naturally focus your attention toward growth, possibility, and alignment with your deepest values. Others, despite potentially good intentions, consistently direct your awareness toward limitations, risks, and distractions. This influence operates so subtly that you often fail to recognize how profoundly your social connections affect your ability to maintain clarity about what matters most. Consider how your experience of the exact same circumstance transforms depending on who you're sharing it with. A challenge that feels exciting and growth-promoting when discussed with one person can suddenly seem overwhelming and impossible when processed with another. A goal that fills you with energy and purpose in a certain company may trigger doubt and hesitation in different social contexts. This dramatic shift occurs not because the external reality has changed, but because different relationships activate distinct filtering systems within your consciousness. The impact of these relational filtering systems extends far beyond just emotional support or practical accountability. Each significant relationship in your life creates its own frequency of mental noise or clarity through four primary dynamics. The validation-seeking dynamic generates noise through constant calibration of your choices against others' approval. This subtle but persistent adjustment process fragments your attention as you unconsciously monitor whether your authentic desires align with others' expectations. The comparison dynamic creates interference by replacing your internal guidance system with external metrics. Rather than measuring progress against your own purpose and values, you become distracted by how your path compares to others, even when their journey holds no relevance to your unique direction. Emotional contagion occurs when you unconsciously absorb and amplify others' mental states, allowing their anxiety, scattered focus, or resistance to override your own clarity. This particularly insidious form of noise often feels like your own authentic response, rather than an absorbed frequency. Competing priorities arise when you attempt to synchronize your focused intention with someone else's divergent goals, creating a form of relationship static that disperses energy and fragments attention. This commonly manifests in partnerships where one person's commitment to growth triggers resistance in the other. Understanding these dynamics reveals why simply trying harder to maintain focus often fails within certain relationship contexts. The issue isn't lack of discipline, but rather the presence of powerful filtering systems that actively direct attention away from your essential frequency. Yet relationships also hold tremendous potential for enhancing clarity when their filtering systems align with your authentic purpose. Connections characterized by authentic affirmation rather than validation seeking naturally amplify your signal. Relationships that encourage self-referenced measurement help maintain clear reception of your unique path. Those that respect emotional boundaries prevent unnecessary absorption of mental static. And partnerships aligned in purpose create powerful resonance that strengthens clear transmission. This understanding shifts the focus from trying to eliminate social noise, an impossible and ultimately undesirable goal, to consciously designing relationship dynamics that enhance rather than interfere with clarity. The key lies not in isolation, but in developing social boundaries for signal clarity. agreements, and practices that protect your essential frequency while maintaining genuine connection. These boundaries look different in various contexts. Within intimate partnerships, they might involve designated periods of focused work or explicit agreements about how to support each other's growth. In professional relationships, they could include communication protocols that minimize unnecessary interruption while preserving important collaboration. Among friends and family, they often require honest conversations about changing needs and evolving priorities. The process of establishing such boundaries inevitably creates temporary discomfort as relationship systems adjust to new frequencies. Some connections will naturally strengthen through this recalibration, while others may need to be consciously restructured or released if they consistently generate unproductive noise. You might notice resistance from those accustomed to unrestricted access to your attention, or feel guilt when protecting your essential frequency. This discomfort signals the natural growing pains of evolving relationships rather than a sign you're doing something wrong. Like tuning a complex instrument, each adjustment brings you closer to optimal resonance, even if the interim notes sound discordant. The relationships that align with your highest purpose will adapt and deepen, while those built primarily on habit or obligation may fade, a natural and necessary part of tuning your life to a clearer signal. Chapter 11. The Financial Filter. Money Decisions That Reduce Static. Financial choices create far more than economic consequences. They fundamentally shape your ability to maintain clear reception of what matters most. Every financial decision generates its own frequency of noise, from the subtle static of small recurring payments to the overwhelming interference of major obligations that demand constant attention. Think of your financial life as an intricate sound system where each commitment adds its own persistent tone to the background. A mortgage payment isn't just a monthly withdrawal. It's a constant hum, reminding you of the need to maintain a certain income level. A complex investment portfolio doesn't just require monitoring. It broadcasts an endless stream of data points competing for your attention. Even small subscription services create their own perpetual whispers, each one insignificant alone, but collectively forming a chorus of mental static. This noise manifests through three primary channels. First, obligation effects create baseline interference, the minimal income requirements and financial commitments that limit your flexibility and keep certain frequencies of worry continuously broadcasting in your mind. Second, maintenance requirements generate ongoing static through possessions that demand regular attention, care, and decisions. Third, status considerations create social noise, the constant evaluation of whether your financial choices properly signal your desired position within your professional and social spheres. The impact of these noise sources extends far beyond their monetary cost. A luxury car payment might seem manageable within your budget, but the mental bandwidth consumed by maintenance concerns, insurance considerations, and protective vigilance creates significant cognitive overhead. Similarly, a portfolio of rental properties may generate positive cash flow, while simultaneously flooding your attention with tenant issues, maintenance decisions, and market monitoring. What makes financial noise particularly insidious is how it masquerades as responsible adult behavior. Culture celebrates complexity in financial matters, equating sophisticated arrangements with intelligence and success. This creates a powerful bias toward taking on commitments that look impressive on paper while quietly eroding your ability to focus on what genuinely matters to you. The concept of attention ROI provides a crucial reframe. Instead of evaluating financial choices solely on their economic merits, Consider their impact on your mental clarity and focus capacity. A simpler investment approach might sacrifice some theoretical returns, but free up significant cognitive bandwidth. A smaller house in a convenient location might mean less impressive square footage, but eliminate hours of maintenance and commuting mental static. Cognitive minimalism offers a revolutionary framework for financial decisions. Rather than maximizing returns or status, optimize for reduced mental overhead. This might mean choosing automated index funds over actively managed investments, renting rather than buying if it eliminates property maintenance concerns, or deliberately limiting options to reduce decision fatigue. The challenge lies in implementing this approach within a culture that views financial complexity as a badge of honor. Friends may question why you're settling for simpler arrangements. Colleagues might suggest you're leaving money on the table by not pursuing more sophisticated strategies. These social pressures create their own form of noise that must be filtered through clear recognition of your true priorities. The key lies in understanding that every financial commitment creates its own energy signature in your life. Some generate persistent interference patterns that require constant attention to manage. Others establish stable background frequencies that support rather than undermine your focus. By deliberately choosing arrangements that minimize cognitive overhead, you create space for clearer reception of your essential purposes. This isn't about adopting an ascetic lifestyle or avoiding all financial complexity. Rather, it's about consciously evaluating the mental noise cost of each commitment and choosing arrangements that naturally support clarity. Sometimes this means paying more for simplicity, like choosing a full-service option that eliminates ongoing decisions. Other times it means accepting less optimal financial terms in exchange for reduced cognitive load. The goal isn't deprivation or oversimplification, but creating a financial environment where your mental bandwidth remains available for what matters most. A mutual fund with slightly higher fees might serve you better than a portfolio requiring constant rebalancing. An automated bill-paying service could justify its cost by eliminating monthly decision fatigue. These choices aren't about settling for less. They're strategic investments in your mental clarity. When you remove the static of constant financial micromanagement, you'll find yourself better equipped to recognize and seize meaningful opportunities that align with your deeper purpose. Your mind, freed from the endless loop of minor financial decisions, naturally gravitates toward bigger questions and bolder possibilities. The apparent cost of choosing simpler options often pays unexpected dividends in mental clarity and focused energy. This enhanced clarity becomes its own form of wealth, generating returns that transcend mere financial metrics. Chapter 12. The Attentional Filter, the Power of Conscious Concentration. Your most powerful filter isn't external, but internal. The ability to consciously direct and sustain attention on what matters most, like a lighthouse cutting through fog and darkness with its focused beam. Your attention has the capacity to illuminate what's essential while letting peripheral distractions fade into the background. This capability transforms all other filtering systems, allowing you to maintain clarity even when conditions aren't ideal. Understanding focused attention begins with recognizing how your brain physically changes through consistent practice. Each time you deliberately direct your mental spotlight, you strengthen neural pathways that support sustained concentration while weakening those that lead to distraction. This neuroplasticity means your capacity for focus isn't fixed. It's highly trainable, like a muscle that grows stronger through proper exercise. Your attention operates in distinct modes, each serving specific purposes in your cognitive ecosystem. Focused attention allows for deep concentration on a single point, enabling detailed analysis and thorough understanding. Diffuse attention maintains broad awareness of your environment, useful for creativity and pattern recognition. Evaluative attention supports critical thinking and decision-making, while creative attention enables innovative connections between seemingly unrelated concepts. The key isn't mastering just one mode, but developing attentional sovereignty, the ability to consciously shift between these states based on what the moment requires. This sovereignty represents freedom from having your attention hijacked by external triggers or internal habits. Instead of your mental state being determined by whatever seems most urgent or stimulating, you choose where to direct your cognitive resources. A common misconception about powerful focus suggests it requires rigid, unwavering concentration. However, true mastery embodies the principle of flexible firmness, maintaining absolute commitment to what matters, while adapting your approach based on changing conditions. This flexibility allows you to maintain clarity even when circumstances aren't ideal. The challenge of developing focused attention in today's environment cannot be overstated. Modern culture explicitly designs for fragmented attention, with countless systems competing for your mental bandwidth. Yet this reality makes attentional mastery even more valuable. Those who develop this capacity gain an increasingly rare and powerful advantage. The benefits of strengthened attention compound over time. As your capacity for sustained focus grows, you'll notice improvements across all domains of performance. Tasks that once required intense concentration become easier. Creative insights emerge more readily. Decision-making becomes clearer and more aligned with your true priorities. Different contexts require different applications of focused attention. During deep work sessions, you might employ single-pointed concentration to solve complex problems. Creative pursuits might call for alternating between focused and diffuse attention to balance analytical thinking with intuitive insights. Even during conversations, conscious attention allows for deeper understanding and more meaningful connection. Experiencing the contrast between captured versus directed attention reveals the profound impact of this skill. When your attention is captured, you find yourself pulled toward whatever seems most urgent or stimulating in the moment, creating a scattered, reactive pattern of engagement. But when you consciously direct attention, you maintain connection with your essential purpose, regardless of external circumstances. The path to attentional mastery involves systematically developing longer periods of unbroken concentration, while gradually expanding your capacity to maintain clarity amid distractions. This isn't about eliminating all distractions, an impossible goal in modern life, but about strengthening your ability to maintain focus regardless of conditions. Your attention is the master filter through which all experience flows. By developing this internal capacity for sustained focus, you enhance the effectiveness of every external filtering system. Environmental design, temporal optimization, social boundaries, and financial clarity all become more powerful when supported by conscious attention. The development of attentional mastery represents the capstone of effective filtering. While external systems create supportive conditions, your ability to consciously direct and sustain attention ultimately determines how clearly you receive the signal of your true purpose amid the noise of modern life. This internal filtering system becomes your most reliable compass, cutting through the static regardless of circumstances. When you strengthen this core capacity, every external boundary and structure gains new power, not because they've changed, but because you've developed the discernment to use them more effectively. Your enhanced attention transforms these outer supports from mere tools into extensions of your deepened awareness. Like a master conductor who can pick out a single off-key note in a full orchestra, your refined attention allows you to instantly recognize what belongs in your experience and what creates unnecessary discord. The boundaries you set, the schedules you create, and the environments you design become more than defensive barriers against distraction. They evolve into precise instruments for amplifying what matters most. This heightened discernment doesn't just filter out noise, it actively strengthens the signal of your deeper purpose, making it increasingly difficult to ignore or override. Your attention, when fully developed, becomes an automatic sorting system, instantly distinguishing between inputs that serve your growth and those that merely consume your energy. This isn't about perfect focus. It's about developing the wisdom to recognize what deserves your precious attention and what you can safely let flow past unengaged. Chapter 13. The Clarity Catalyst. Questions that tune your frequency. Questions possess an almost magical ability to cut through mental static and reveal clarity that was hidden in plain sight. When you're lost in a maze of options and information, the right question can illuminate the path forward with startling immediacy. This transformative power of questioning isn't mystical. It's rooted in how your brain processes information and directs attention. Neuroscience reveals that different question structures activate distinct neural networks. Solution-focused questions engage your brain's creative problem-solving centers, while problem-focused questions trigger stress responses that amplify mental noise. This biological reality explains why "what's the simplest next step?" creates immediate clarity, while "why is this so hard?" only increases confusion. Your brain's filtering systems respond automatically to the questions you pose. Ask, "What's wrong with this situation?" and your neural networks dutifully gather evidence of problems. Ask, "What's working that we can build upon?" And those same networks redirect attention to highlight opportunities and resources. The question itself functions as a sophisticated filter, determining which information reaches your conscious awareness. 4 distinct question archetypes serve as clarity catalysts in different contexts. Clarifying questions like, "What's actually essential here?" help distinguish signal from noise by forcing precision in thinking. Expanding questions such as, "What possibilities haven't I considered?" reveal hidden options by broadening your perceptual field. Focusing questions including, "What matters most right now?" creates immediate prioritization by directing attention to what's truly important. Reframing questions like, "How might this challenge actually serve my goals?" transform how you perceive situations by shifting your cognitive frame. Question-first thinking represents a revolutionary approach to creating clarity. Instead of immediately searching for answers when facing confusion, first identify the specific question that would create maximum clarity if answered. This subtle shift prevents wasting energy solving the wrong problems or chasing irrelevant information. The difference between problem-focused and solution-focused questions demonstrates this principle in action. "Why do I keep getting distracted?" sends your brain searching for all the ways your focus is compromised, amplifying awareness of every potential distraction. "What conditions help me maintain focus?" automatically directs attention toward constructive patterns and practical solutions. Crafting powerful questions requires understanding how different question structures impact your perception and processing. Open questions beginning with "what" or "how" tend to expand possibilities, while closed questions starting with "should" or "why" often restrict options and increase mental noise. Questions focused on the present or future generally create more clarity than those fixated on the past. The signal-seeking question framework provides a systematic approach to generating clarity-enhancing inquiries. Start with broad questions that expand perspective, then use increasingly focused questions to zero in on essential insights. Pay attention to how different questions affect your mental state. Some will create immediate relief and clarity, while others increase tension and confusion. When you're in the midst of overwhelm or uncertainty, even remembering to consciously craft questions can be challenging. This is why developing question-first thinking as a habitual response to confusion is so valuable. With practice, your brain automatically begins formulating clarity-creating questions rather than spiraling into unproductive rumination. These questioning skills work synergistically with all previous filtering systems, providing a dynamic tool for creating clarity in real time when static inevitably arises, despite your best preventative measures. Environmental filters might reduce external noise, but questions help you process whatever noise does get through. Temporal filters optimize when you work, but questions help you maintain clarity regardless of timing. The real power of questions lies in their ability to instantly shift your perception and attention. A single well-crafted question can transform a seemingly impossible situation into one with obvious next steps. This isn't through adding information or techniques, but by filtering out mental static and highlighting what's truly essential for progress. When you're caught in mental loops of worry or indecision, the right question acts like a spotlight cutting through fog, illuminating paths forward you couldn't see moments before. Your brain responds automatically to questions, making them uniquely effective tools for breaking through confusion. While affirmations or positive statements might bounce off resistance, questions bypass your mental defenses and engage your natural problem-solving abilities. They work not by forcing change, but by redirecting your attention toward possibilities rather than problems. This redirection happens at a fundamental level. Questions activate different neural pathways than statements or commands. While your mind might resist being told what to do, it naturally engages with questions, seeking answers almost reflexively. Think of how your attention shifts when someone asks you where you left your keys. Your mind immediately begins scanning memories and possibilities. This same mechanism makes questions invaluable for cutting through mental noise. They provide natural focusing points for your attention, creating islands of clarity in seas of confusion. Even in moments of overwhelming uncertainty, the right question can anchor your thoughts and guide you toward productive action. Chapter 14. The Momentum Method. Small signals that build unstoppable force. The power of momentum reveals itself most clearly in nature, where even the softest water droplets, falling consistently in the same spot, eventually carve through solid stone. This fundamental principle extends far beyond physical systems into the realm of human achievement, where small but consistent actions create a force that naturally cuts through resistance. Your brain operates on prediction systems, constantly anticipating future states based on past patterns. When you remain static, these neural networks reinforce the expectation of continued inaction, making movement progressively more difficult. However, when you initiate even the smallest forward step, you fundamentally alter these prediction patterns, creating a neural bias toward continued action. Understanding this biological basis of momentum transforms how you approach achievement. Rather than waiting for perfect clarity or complete motivation before beginning, recognize that movement itself generates the clarity and enthusiasm that sustain progress. This represents a complete inversion of conventional wisdom about achievement. Instead of motivation leading to action, Consistent action generates authentic motivation. The concept of minimum viable actions, MVAs, emerges from this understanding. MVAs represent the smallest possible steps that create genuine forward movement without triggering the resistance that often accompanies larger initiatives. By identifying these micro-actions specific to your goals, you bypass the noise-generating effects of perfectionism, overwhelm, and fear that frequently prevent progress. This explains why traditional approaches to achievement often fail. They require too much initial activation energy, triggering resistance before momentum can develop. By contrast, MVAs work with your brain's natural tendencies, creating small wins that build upon each other while staying below the threshold that activates self-protective resistance. The physics of momentum apply remarkably well to human achievement. Just as a body in motion tends to stay in motion, each small action you take creates a subtle forward pull that makes subsequent actions easier. Conversely, remaining static strengthens the gravitational pull of inaction, making it progressively more difficult to begin. This principle manifests across every domain of achievement. In creative pursuits, writing one sentence often naturally flows into a paragraph, while waiting for inspiration typically leads to continued waiting. In business, making one sales call frequently generates the momentum for several more, while overthinking the perfect script usually results in no calls at all. In personal development, doing one push-up can spark a full workout, while planning the perfect fitness routine often leads to another day of inaction. The feedback generated by movement itself provides more actionable clarity than any amount of advanced planning. This explains why people who take imperfect action often make more progress than those who attempt to achieve perfect understanding before beginning. The very act of movement generates data about what works, what doesn't, and what needs adjustment. Information that's impossible to obtain through theoretical analysis alone. When you contrast the traditional motivation then action model with the tiny action then motivation approach, the differences become stark. The former creates a dependency on emotional states that may or may not materialize, while the latter generates its own emotional fuel through the natural momentum of consistent movement. This principle even extends to mental states. Small actions toward a goal create cognitive momentum that naturally cuts through the noise of overthinking, self-doubt, and analysis paralysis. Each step forward, no matter how tiny, generates clarity about the next step, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of progress. The real power of momentum comes not from the size of individual actions, but from their consistency. Just as water droplets must fall in the same spot to carve through stone, your minimum viable actions must maintain a consistent direction to generate meaningful progress. This explains why sporadic bursts of major effort often produce less lasting change than small, consistent steps in a clear direction. Momentum mapping provides a systematic approach to leveraging this principle. By breaking any goal into a progression of increasingly substantial actions, each building upon the momentum of the previous step, you create a natural pathway toward achievement that works with, rather than against, your brain's inherent tendencies. This action-oriented approach transforms how you engage with resistance. Rather than trying to overcome it through willpower or waiting for it to disappear, you simply take action small enough to slip beneath its threshold while still maintaining forward movement. Over time, these tiny actions accumulate into significant progress, just as countless small droplets eventually reshape solid stone. Chapter 15. The Depth Dimension, Accessing Flow States, Beyond the Noise. Beyond the turbulent surface of your everyday consciousness lies a state of profound clarity and effortless action, what psychologists and performance experts call flow. Like a diver descending beneath choppy waves to discover perfect stillness in the depths, accessing flow states allows you to move beyond the constant static of self-consciousness, doubt, and distraction into a realm of pure focus and natural excellence. This optimal state reveals itself not through forcing concentration or fighting against distraction, but through arranging specific conditions that allow your natural capacity for complete absorption to emerge. Neurologically, flow represents a unique configuration of brain activity where the default mode network, responsible for self-referential thinking and internal chatter, temporarily deactivates. This neural shift creates an experience where action and awareness merge, where time seems to alter, and where your highest performance feels effortless rather than strained. Understanding the precise triggers that initiate this state transforms flow from a random occurrence into a reliable tool for accelerated achievement. Three core conditions consistently precede flow states: crystal clear goals that focus attention, immediate feedback that guides adjustments, and the optimal balance between challenge and current skill level. This sweet spot of challenge proves particularly crucial. When a task is too easy, your mind wanders. When it's too difficult, anxiety fragments focus. But when the challenge stretches you to the edge of your capacity without overwhelming it, flow naturally emerges. While elite performers in any field often seem to access flow states effortlessly, this capacity isn't a special talent, but a trainable skill based on specific triggers. Physical triggers include environments that minimize distraction while maximizing focus. Psychological triggers involve clear goals and immediate feedback systems. Social triggers can include either supportive collaboration or healthy competition. Understanding your personal flow triggers allows you to systematically design activities that reliably induce this optimal state. Flow states simultaneously represent your highest performance capability and your most enjoyable experience, a powerful signal about where your authentic talents and essential purpose align. Activities that consistently generate flow often reveal your natural strengths and deepest interests more clearly than any personality test or career assessment. This overlap between peak performance and peak enjoyment explains why pursuing flow-generating activities frequently creates both accelerated achievement and profound fulfillment. Modern culture, with its constant interruptions and fragmented attention patterns, often seems specifically designed to prevent flow states from emerging. Notifications, multitasking expectations, and the cult of busyness create an environment hostile to the deep absorption flow required. Yet paradoxically, this cultural context makes flow states even more valuable as a competitive advantage and source of clarity about what truly matters. The path to accessing flow more consistently begins with carefully observing when you naturally experience these states. Which activities so thoroughly engage you that time seems to disappear? What conditions tend to precede these experiences? What environments or contexts most reliably support this level of absorption? Mapping your existing flow experiences reveals patterns you can strategically expand to encompass more of your important work. Beyond just optimizing external conditions, developing flow capacity requires cultivating specific internal qualities. Sharp focus allows you to maintain attention on the present moment, rather than drifting into past or future concerns. Clear goals provide direction without rigid attachment to outcomes. Immediate feedback helps you adjust and improve without falling into self-consciousness or criticism. These internal skills develop through consistent practice rather than sporadic effort. The clearest path to enhanced flow capacity combines targeted skill development with strategic environmental design. Rather than waiting for flow to occur randomly, you can systematically arrange conditions that make these optimal states more likely. This might involve breaking complex projects into clear chunks with specific success criteria, creating distraction-free work environments, or establishing feedback systems that provide immediate information about your progress. When you experience flow regularly, you discover that your highest achievement comes not through forcing yourself toward goals, but through aligning with your natural capacity for absorbed, focused action. This state reveals that extraordinary performance doesn't require extraordinary strain. It emerges naturally when you remove the noise that usually prevents you from accessing your innate excellence. Chapter 16. The Singularity Principle, the Ultimate Focus Amplifier. Like sunlight passing through a magnifying glass, your potential for achievement contains tremendous latent power. Yet this energy, when dispersed across multiple priorities, often fails to create meaningful impact. Only when concentrated on a single point does it generate enough focused heat to ignite real transformation. This fundamental principle of physics perfectly illustrates why dividing your attention across numerous goals dramatically reduces your capacity for breakthrough achievement. The mathematics of divided attention reveal a sobering truth. Splitting focus among multiple priorities doesn't merely reduce effectiveness proportionally. It creates an exponential drop in impact through hidden costs. Every time you switch context between different goals, you pay a cognitive toll. Your brain requires significant energy to reorient, recall relevant details, and rebuild momentum. These micro-costs accumulate rapidly, consuming far more resources than most people realize. Modern workplaces and lifestyles celebrate the myth of productive multitasking, praising those who juggle numerous projects and pursue multiple streams of achievement simultaneously. Yet this approach fundamentally misunderstands how human attention and breakthrough performance actually work. When you examine cases of extraordinary achievement across diverse fields, scientific discovery, artistic mastery, business innovation, athletic performance, a consistent pattern emerges. The most significant breakthroughs almost always come from periods of intense, singular focus rather than divided attention across multiple pursuits. This reveals the revolutionary concept of strategic subtraction, the counterintuitive understanding that removing goals and commitments, even valuable ones, often accelerates progress more effectively than adding new strategies or working harder. By eliminating competing priorities that create interference patterns in your focus and energy, you clear the way for extraordinary progress in what matters most. The anxiety this approach triggers is both natural and widespread. In a culture that celebrates diverse achievements and encourages hedging bets across multiple pursuits, fully committing to a single priority feels risky. The fear of missing opportunities or falling behind in other areas can create powerful resistance to this level of focus. Yet this fear often blinds us to a crucial truth. Breakthrough achievement in one area frequently creates cascading benefits across multiple dimensions of life. When you achieve mastery or significant progress in one domain, the principles, confidence, and momentum you gain naturally transfer to other pursuits. The skills developed through deep focus, clarity of thought, sustained concentration, strategic thinking, resilience through challenges, become available for any goal you later choose to pursue. This means the apparent sacrifice of breadth actually accelerates your overall progress through the leverage of concentrated impact. Consider how certain achievements, if fully realized, would make multiple other goals either unnecessary or significantly easier to accomplish. A breakthrough in your career might simultaneously solve financial challenges, create more schedule flexibility, and open doors to other opportunities. Mastering emotional regulation could transform your relationships, productivity, and health habits all at once. This dominoing effect of focused achievement reveals why diffusing energy across multiple goals often proves less effective than directing all resources toward one strategic priority. The power of singular focus extends beyond just the practical benefits of undivided attention. When you fully commit to one priority, you send a clear signal to your brain about what deserves its finite resources. This clarity triggers deeper levels of engagement and creativity as your subconscious mind aligns with your conscious intention. The feeling of conflicting commitments creates subtle but persistent cognitive stress that drains mental energy. Eliminating this internal competition frees up significant psychological resources for your primary goal. This principle of strategic subtraction requires a fundamental shift in how you approach goal setting and achievement. Rather than asking what else you could add to your list of pursuits, the key question becomes, what single focus, if maintained with unwavering commitment, would create the most significant positive impact across your entire life? This reframing often reveals that what appears to be a limitation, pursuing only one priority, actually becomes a catalyst for accelerated progress. The most crucial effect of singular focus often manifests in areas that traditional metrics fail to capture. Beyond just faster progress or better results, this approach creates a qualitatively different experience of working toward your goals. The mental clarity and reduced internal friction that come from eliminating competing priorities allow you to access deeper states of flow and engagement. This not only accelerates achievement, but makes the process itself more fulfilling and sustainable. Chapter 17: The Resilience Frequency, Staying Clear Amid Life's Static. You know the frustration of losing a clear radio signal just when the most important part of the message is about to come through. That momentary static creates an almost visceral urge to adjust the tuning, to restore that crystal clear reception you had just moments ago. This instinctive response reveals a profound truth about maintaining focus amid life's inevitable disruptions. It's not about achieving permanent, uninterrupted clarity, an impossible standard that creates its own form of perfectionist static, but about developing the capacity to quickly restore clear reception when interference occurs. Think of resilience not as an impenetrable shield against distraction, but as a sophisticated auto-tuning system that continuously adjusts to maintain connection with your essential frequency despite changing conditions. This distinction proves crucial because pursuing perfect, uninterrupted focus often generates more noise than it eliminates. The real measure of effective filtering lies in your ability to bend without breaking, to maintain your connection to what matters most, even as circumstances shift around you. This resilience manifests across three distinct dimensions, each playing a vital role in maintaining clear reception of your essential signal. Anticipatory resilience involves expecting and planning for potential interference, creating systems that accommodate rather than resist common disruptions. Adaptive resilience enables you to respond effectively when unexpected static arises, adjusting your approach without losing sight of your core purpose. Restorative resilience, perhaps the most crucial, determines how quickly you can return to clarity after periods of interference. Understanding these dimensions reveals why highly focused individuals don't actually experience fewer distractions than others. They've simply developed superior recovery systems. This insight leads us to the critical metric of the distraction to refocus ratio. Rather than measuring how often you get distracted, a fairly constant reality of modern life, this ratio tracks how quickly you restore clear reception. A lower ratio indicates more efficient signal restoration, regardless of how frequently interference occurs. This understanding transforms how you approach maintaining focus amid life's complexities. Instead of trying to eliminate all potential sources of interference, an exhausting and ultimately futile endeavor, you can create strategic resilience buffers, reserves of time, energy, and resources specifically designed to absorb disruption without derailing important priorities. These buffers might seem inefficient in theory, but they actually create more consistent progress over time by preventing minor disruptions from escalating into major derailments. Consider how a GPS system handles unexpected detours. It doesn't freeze or shut down when you veer off course, nor does it berate you for missing a turn. Instead, it calmly recalculates, finding new pathways to your destination based on current conditions. This same principle applies to maintaining focus on your essential goals. The key lies not in preventing all deviations, but in having predetermined protocols for returning to your chosen path. This reality challenges the common misconception that highly successful individuals maintain unbroken concentration throughout their days. The truth reveals quite the opposite. They experience the same disruptions as everyone else, but have developed robust systems for quickly restoring their focus. These signal restoration protocols operate like cognitive preset buttons, allowing you to return to clarity without having to figure out how in the moment. Think of resilience like a well-calibrated compass that naturally reorients you toward your true north. Each time you drift off course, this internal guidance system activates automatically, requiring no complex calculations or heroic willpower. You simply notice the deviation and make the necessary adjustment to continue toward your destination. The power of these protocols lies in their elegant simplicity. Rather than attempting to fortify your mind against every conceivable distraction, you develop reliable pathways back to clarity that become stronger with each use. Much like a familiar route home that you can navigate even in difficult conditions, these mental pathways remain accessible regardless of your emotional state or energy level. Your success doesn't depend on maintaining perfect focus any more than a ship's journey depends on perfectly calm seas. What matters is your ability to recognize when you've drifted and your confidence in the systems that guide you back. This shift in perspective transforms occasional lapses from frustrating failures into natural parts of the journey, expected moments that trigger automatic course corrections. The goal isn't to eliminate all distractions, but to build such robust restoration protocols that returning to focus becomes second nature. When you accept that deviations are normal, you can stop wasting energy fighting against them and instead invest that energy in strengthening your return pathways. Chapter 18: The Legacy Signal: Creating Noise-Resistant Achievement. Legacy represents the ultimate filter for distinguishing signal from noise, a perspective that instantly clarifies what truly deserves your focused attention. When you expand your time frame beyond immediate results to consider the lasting impact of your choices, many of today's seemingly urgent concerns naturally fade into background static. This shift in perspective reveals a profound truth: that the decisions which matter most through time are rarely the ones demanding immediate attention in the present moment. Consider what message or contribution you would choose to transmit if you could send just one signal that would outlast your lifetime. This thought experiment immediately cuts through the daily noise of trivial concerns, revealing what you believe matters most at the deepest level. The clarity that emerges from this expanded perspective offers a powerful filter for evaluating current choices and commitments. Legacy thinking transcends traditional goal setting by connecting your daily actions to their ultimate impact, rather than just their immediate results. This alignment between present choices and lasting contribution creates a natural filtering system that automatically screens out activities that, while potentially productive in the short term, fail to serve your essential purpose. The most enduring achievements across history share common characteristics that distinguish them from temporary successes. They tend to address fundamental human needs and aspirations rather than fleeting trends. They create value that compounds through time rather than diminishing. They inspire and enable others rather than simply demonstrating personal capability. Understanding these patterns reveals specific criteria for identifying high-signal opportunities amid the noise of countless possible pursuits. Legacy alignment transforms how you evaluate opportunities and challenges by expanding the time frame of consideration. Decisions viewed through this lens often differ dramatically from those made based on immediate metrics or pressures. What seems urgent today may prove trivial when considered against the backdrop of decades or generations. Conversely, choices that appear insignificant in the moment may create profound ripple effects through time. This expanded perspective naturally diminishes many common sources of noise that fragment attention and drain energy. Status concerns lose their grip when you consider how little today's symbols of success matter in the long arc of time. Comparative thinking fades when you focus on creating lasting value rather than temporary advantages. Short-term metrics and feedback loops, while still practically useful, no longer dominate decision-making. The challenge lies in maintaining this expanded perspective amid the immediate pressures and limited feedback loops of daily life. Legacy thinking requires deliberate practice, regularly zooming out to evaluate choices through the lens of lasting impact rather than just immediate results. This conscious effort generates profound clarity about what truly deserves your attention. The legacy filter provides a powerful tool for instantly separating the trivial, many from the vital few. By asking, "How will this choice contribute to the signal I want my life to transmit?" you create an automatic screening mechanism that reveals which opportunities and commitments align with your ultimate purpose. This filter works across all domains of life, from creative and intellectual contributions to relationships and community impact. It helps identify high-leverage opportunities that remain invisible when focused solely on immediate results. It reveals how seemingly small choices, when viewed through the lens of cumulative impact, can create profound ripple effects through time. The power of legacy thinking lies in its ability to automatically filter noise by expanding your frame of reference. When you consider the signal you want your life to amplify, the essential message or contribution you want to remain clear long after the daily noise has faded, priorities naturally clarify themselves. This perspective integrates all previous filtering systems into a cohesive approach for maintaining clear reception of your authentic purpose. Your legacy represents the ultimate expression of your essential frequency, the signal that continues transmitting long after temporary noise has faded. By aligning daily choices with this deeper purpose, you create a natural filtering system that continuously directs your attention and energy toward what matters most. Your legacy represents the ultimate expression of your essential frequency, the signal that continues transmitting long after temporary noise has faded. By aligning daily choices with this deeper purpose, you create a natural filtering system that continuously directs your attention and energy toward what matters most. This alignment transcends traditional goal setting or productivity metrics. It operates at the level of identity and meaning. When you tune into this frequency, seemingly difficult decisions become clearer, as each choice either amplifies or diminishes your core signal. Think of your legacy not as some distant monument, but as the cumulative resonance of your authentic voice ringing through time. Each action you take either strengthens or weakens this signal. The noise of urgent but unimportant demands fades against the backdrop of this deeper frequency. Your true impact emerges not from isolated achievements, but from the consistent transmission of your essential message through everything you do. This perspective transforms how you navigate daily challenges and opportunities. Instead of being swayed by the loudest or most immediate demands, you naturally attune to the frequencies that align with your deeper purpose. The static of external expectations and societal pressures begins to fade as your internal receiver becomes increasingly calibrated to your authentic signal. Conclusion. As you reach the final chapters of this journey, let's integrate everything you've discovered about cutting through life's constant static to maintain crystal clear reception of what matters most. Throughout these chapters, you've developed a sophisticated understanding of how different forms of noise, external distractions, internal resistance, and invisible conditioning combine to create interference patterns that obscure your authentic purpose and fragment your attention. You now possess a comprehensive filtering system that works across multiple dimensions, environmental design that naturally minimizes distractions, temporal alignment that honors your cognitive rhythms, social boundaries that protect your focus while deepening connections, and financial choices that reduce mental overhead rather than adding to it. These external filters work in concert with your strengthened internal capabilities. The ability to maintain attention sovereignty, ask clarity-creating questions, generate momentum through minimum viable actions, and access flow states that temporarily suspend all noise. But perhaps most importantly, you've discovered that becoming a skilled conductor of your attention isn't about achieving perfect silence, an impossible standard that creates its own form of perfectionist static. Instead, it's about developing the resilience to quickly restore clarity when interference inevitably occurs. You now understand that even master filterers occasionally experience static. What distinguishes them is not the absence of distraction, but the speed of recovery. Through the lens of legacy thinking, you've gained a powerful perspective that automatically separates signal from noise by expanding your time frame beyond immediate results. This elevated viewpoint reveals how many of today's seemingly urgent concerns naturally fade into background static when viewed through the filter of lasting impact and meaningful contribution. The transformation you've undergone isn't merely about achieving specific goals more effectively, though that will certainly occur. It's about fundamentally altering your experience of life itself. When you cut through the noise that previously fragmented your attention, you create space for deeper presence, more meaningful connections, and greater appreciation of each moment. The filtering systems you've developed aren't fragile techniques that will shatter under pressure, but robust mental frameworks that strengthen with use. Each time you successfully identify and eliminate a source of noise, your reception clarity increases, making it progressively easier to maintain focus on what truly matters. Remember, Beneath the temporary static of daily life, a clear signal has always been broadcasting within you, the unique frequency of your authentic purpose. Learning to receive it clearly isn't just another goal to achieve. It's the foundation that makes all other achievements both meaningful and possible. When you consistently cut out the noise, your aspirations don't just become achievable, they become inevitable, as the full force of your focused attention naturally moves you toward what matters most. Your journey of developing these filtering capabilities has only begun. But you now possess everything needed to maintain clear reception of your essential frequency, even amid life's inevitable distractions. The question is no longer whether you can cut through the noise, but how far you'll go once you do. Thank you for listening and for investing in yourself. I believe in you. Your potential is endless. Now go out there and create the life you deserve. Your potential is endless. Now go out there and create the life you deserve.